Hello, Scream Demons, and welcome to the Screams from the Basement podcast with Sam and Casey. I am one of your co-hosts. I am Casey.
And I'm Sam. Let's get screaming.
And joining us on this episode in the basement, hey, actually, should we say for this episode, joining us in the cellar is the writer, director, producer, Jamie Langlands, and actress and star of the film, Meghan Adara, to chat about Jamie's debut feature film, The Cellar.
Yeah, The Cellar follows a young woman, Abigail, played by Meghan Adara, who awakens in an underground cellar and must escape captivity and uncover the mystery of why she is there. Welcome to the show, Jamie and Meghan.
Thank you.
Yeah, congrats on the movie, guys. Thanks for sharing this with us. We both got to watch it. We both enjoyed it. Thanks for being on the show at 11 o'clock at night for you guys.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Thanks for joining us on the unofficial Screens from the Cellar episode is what we should really be calling this. So Jamie, I'm going to kick things off with you. What is The Cellar? I know that's a big question, but in your own words, what is this film?
Oh crikey, I don't even know myself. I mean, it's a psychological horror thriller film with elements of demonology. There's a bit of sci-fi in there as well. I mean, there's a whole lot of stuff going on in this film, and I mean, it's a difficult one to describe because it's quite obscure, I think.
Yeah.
And it's one of those films where it's kind of like up to the audience. It's quite ambiguous, so it's kind of up to the audience to decide and figure it out in their own minds, kind of what's going on, sort of thing. But yeah, it follows a cult, and there's elements of religious cults in there. So I mean, it's got a whole bunch of different elements that would normally pop up in horror films, basically.
Yeah, it's a really interesting movie because so much of it is dialogue free. A lot of it centers around, Meghan, you're escaping through these catacombs, and there's not a lot of interaction with other people in the first part of it. What was it like on both a screenwriting level, but also acting in this, not having that dialogue, that tool in your basically the tool in your toolbox being unavailable for a large chunk of this movie?
Well, I went in not realizing that there wasn't going to be a lot of dialogue. So as the film went on, I was like, there's still no dialogue. And there's a lot of me walking around these hallways. Is this going to look cool, or is it just going to look like I'm just continuously walking? But yeah, it was interesting because obviously I didn't have the dialogue to fall back on. So it made it like more difficult in terms of making sure that what Jamie had envisioned and what he wanted the audience to experience, that I conveyed it and portrayed it as best I could. And obviously not having the dialogue there and having to make sure that my physical acting, my facial expressions were doing that, I was really very aware of. And also at the same time trying to keep it as naturalistic and believable as possible, because I didn't want to fall into the trap of like overacting it, that it then becomes a bit comical and is so yeah, I think it's made me more aware of my acting abilities and trusting myself a bit more. So yeah, it was a very interesting process, I guess. Yeah.
And Jamie, for you on the writing side, and on the directing side, what are some of the challenges and strengths of using a character where Meghan, you mentioned that is this look goofy, and as us as audience members, no, it doesn't. It looks incredible. This is a fantastic looking film. So many great use of lighting and setting in this movie. But as a director, Jamie, what are some of those strengths that you can find in directing actors without much dialogue?
Well, I mean, I knew I could rely on Meghan and it makes things a whole lot simpler if you've just got one actor to rely on. You know, if I mean, this was the first feature film I've directed, so I didn't want to have a massive cast of people that I'd have to kind of arrange their kind of schedule around mine and the locations and everything. So I just tried to keep it simple and do the things that I knew would kind of work well, or I thought would work well. And yeah, it was just a case of using the resources I had around me to the best of I could, basically. I mean, I knew, you know, great DOPs that were great with lighting, and, you know, great editors. So I knew a lot of people, like locally, that I could trust and rely on. And it was just about utilizing their abilities best I could, really. And the same with Meghan as well.
There's two things in those tools that you have in your toolbox that really stood out to me, of the lighting and the setting. I want to talk about the setting for a second, because the cellar itself, the different like rooms that Megan, your character, is going through the entire time. Where is this location, and how did you find it, and how did you just utilize that space to the best of its abilities?
Well, I worked in a couple of those locations as an actor, and they just kind of stuck with me. And I wanted good locations because they really push the production value up if you've got, you know, great locations. And it gives the actors an authentic kind of field to play on, basically. And yeah, it just brings everything up. So I kind of based the story around the locations at first, and then just kind of saw where the story went. So I kind of had the locations in my mind before I even started kind of writing the film, basically.
Yeah. So how did shooting in location help you find like where you were at in your character's journey for Abigail? Megan, how did all the different locations like just enhance what you were doing as an actress?
It just made the whole film, as in acting in it, more immersive. You're actually, you know, yourself experiencing what Abigail would have experienced at the same time. I mean, I'd never been there before, so it was like as I was acting, I was coming across all these like different things. So it gave me like, you know, more like things to look at, things to pick up and play with, that if I'd been there before, you know, a few times, I would have noticed it and probably not have taken any notice of the things that, you know, I did in the film. So I think it made the physicality more believable, in the sense of, I don't know what this place is, Abigail doesn't know what this place is, and I'm like conveying that on screen, that obviously she has no idea where she is. So yeah, I think in terms of performance, it obviously, always being on set is always a really good way to get into character, because you're basically then living what the character is living. And it brings the whole performance together, obviously, as well as like costume and hair and makeup and all that stuff. But I do think setting and location is very important in, you know, bringing your performance to life. And then obviously knowing your limits, in sense of, sometimes you'll read something in the script and be like, oh, okay, I could do this. You interpret it in your own way, and then you get to the location, you realize that what you kind of planned can't go ahead. So then you have to be quick on your feet, thinking, oh, okay, well, I can't do that, so I have to, you know, do what I can within this setting. So yeah, I think the setting was very important on, you know, Abigail's character, and obviously the overall film. So yeah.
And that was a grim setting. There was like mold on the walls.
Yeah, that was
Yeah, like spiders' webs.
yeah, and I don't like spiders.
Yeah.
And the thing is, there was a scene where I have to like duck into this little like hole, and I didn't know that I was going to do that. And then Jamie was like, oh yeah, just like go in there. And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, just go in there. And I was like, I'm not going in there. He's like, you're going in there. I was like, but there's spider's webs. I don't want to go in there. And I actually had to go in there. I was just sat under this thing, like looking all around me, like there's so many cobwebs everywhere. I don't like this. Like, I think if there was actually genuinely a spider on me, I probably would have like thrown a massive hissy fit.
So the fear in those sequences was real sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah.
Real for not the actors, it was just the spiders.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
just the spiders, nothing
Yeah.
else. Nothing else in the film scared me. Just them.
I think what's really great about the Abigail character is that she is super resourceful, and you see
Yeah.
that again without any dialogue, and that's got to be so hard for both of you as the director and the actress portraying the character of conveying that willpower and that resourcefulness, because she uses just whatever is available to her. Jamie, for you as a director and writer of this character, what was it like trying to build Abigail to be this resourceful person who's just using everything around her to just survive?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted her to be smart, but because she needed to be to, well, get out of the situation she's in at the start. So I wanted her to be smart and resourceful, because if she was just like a ditzy character, she wouldn't have got anywhere, and it would have been like over pretty quickly for her. So yeah, she needed to be smart. And I saw some really cool films that are just in like one location, where there's not a lot of dialogue, and it's just like the character, and it's just like what they've got around them to get out of the situation they're in. And these kind of films in the past, when I've seen them, have really sort of gripped me. So I kind of took inspiration from a few other films out there, and just tried to make it real as I could. Not sort of make it so the audience thinks, oh, that wouldn't have happened, or so yeah, I just tried to. I was kind of thinking, what could she use? She has not really got anything on her, so what could she kind of use to get out of this situation? And again, it would have literally just been what she would have had on her, which wasn't a lot.
Yeah. So Megan, was there anything that you brought to Abigail that wasn't necessarily on the page, but that you just came to the role and you were like, I think this is what this character would be, or this is what this character would do?
Yeah, I mean, there was another reason I joined the film was not only because Jamie and I worked together and I thought the script was really good. It was also the fact I could identify myself with Abigail, of like the things that she'd been through and the things that I've been through personally, and not necessarily obviously them being exactly the same, but figuring out what would my equivalent be to what she's been through, to what I've been through, and using that to bring her to life, to obviously make it more believable and for myself to connect with her. So yeah, I think I brought my own personal experiences to her. So yeah, I think that's what I would have also brought to the character. Yeah.
I mean, what I'd say as well, Megan came up with such a cool, elaborate backstory.
Oh, I did, yes. Yeah, I did.
Basically, like you just written the prequel of the film, basically.
Yeah, I'd literally like spent like hours writing like this massive like character backstory. I said to Jamie, oh, do you have like a like a character bio, like anything that you'd like me to know about the character to bring her to life a bit more, get me to understand her? And I think he sent me like 5 like small bullet points on like key details, and I just wrote like I think 2 or 3 pages of her backstory on like
Nice.
Google Docs. I was like constantly going through it and changing it, like researching into stuff. Yeah, I got a little bit carried away.
It's like hold on the film.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. That's brilliant. I love that.
It is, and especially it's so important for a character like this who is going through, us as an audience member meet her during I mean, a terrible time. She's locked in a cellar trying
Yeah.
to escape, and then also we see her in group. So it's very important to know like where this character's been, because we're meeting her in a very kind of low
Mhm.
place for this character.
Yeah.
Because I think what you guys do so interesting in the film is using this group setting, and then
Mm.
how that intertwines into different parts of the story. What was it like using that group setting almost as a way to tell a horror story?
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, I knew I wanted some flashback scenes in there just to break it up a little bit. And it kind of worked to just have everybody that's involved in this situation all together. And yeah, and it just sort of added something
Mm.
completely different, which I think it needed, a kind of whole different location, a whole different, new set of characters we don't really see too much of other than in this meeting. And it just kind of explains everything a little bit more, and you get more insight into everything. So yeah, I think it needed that really, just to kind of break things up a little bit.
Mm.
Yeah, what was the idea to bring like addiction, mixing like religious iconography into it? Like it just there's a lot on this movie's mind. And like what I love about it is you don't necessarily hold the audience's hand. It's
Yeah.
it's something that you kind of have to figure out for yourself. And like, as someone who has struggled with like alcohol and things like that, there's things that I brought to the movie. What was it like adding in that like addiction aspect to the script?
Yeah, I mean, again, it was another element. I think it was bringing in vulnerability and being preyed on, someone preying on people's vulnerability, which kind of, again, brought the story to a whole realist angle, where it's not just, not just all psychological. It kind of brings a bit of realist into it, realism. And yeah, it just brings a whole nother angle. You've got that addiction angle in there as well. So I kind of hope there's something in there for everyone, really.
Yeah.
Even if they don't like that horror elements too much, maybe they can take a bit more of the kind of drama that's going on and enjoy that a little bit, maybe.
Now, I want to ask both of you, because you both have teased a little bit about some of your inspirations. For both of you, were there some other either film, television, books, stories, people from real life that you both brought to this film as something that you used for inspiration, whether it was behind the camera for you, Jamie, or in front of the camera for you, Megan?
Yeah, I mean, a massive inspiration for me was Resident Evil, the game Resident Evil.
Yeah. I could totally see that.
Yeah.
I wanted people to feel like the character, and I wanted to bring a bit of immersion into it. And that game scared the hell out of me when I played that as a kid. So, I mean, that was great. So I wanted to, that was a big inspiration, Resident Evil. With the group setting, the kind of, the addiction element. I mean, all those characters are based on real people. Basically, I mean, one of the people in that meeting, one of the actors, is actually an alcoholic.
Oh, okay.
I drew a lot from him, basically.
Yeah.
And we sort of worked on it together a little bit, that scene. So yeah, a lot of inspiration came from him for that scene, because he'd been through it, basically. So kind of he was in a better position than me to he kind of wrote a lot of the scene himself, certainly with his style.
Yeah. Well, that's I love that, because there are a lot of times where movies will evoke things like that and it'll ring pretty hollow. Like you can kind of tell when it's like not coming from a real place. And that's what I liked about this, was it never felt like it was just like set dressing or anything. Like, it felt like it was always coming from a very genuine place, and I appreciate that as a viewer.
I mean, I wasn't on screen when I was there in the circle, just to fill the circle to make sure that actors were looking at the right people. And I wasn't on screen, and these stories were made up. And I was sat there crying, genuinely crying, because I genuinely forgot at one point I was on a film set and these people were acting and they weren't real stories. Like, that was how like emotionally it affected me on the day. So yeah, you can really tell that obviously someone really went through what they and wrote it and kept it as believable as possible.
Yeah.
And I remember watching it at the premiere, and it was just gut-wrenching listening to it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, absolutely.
And then Megan, for you, what were some of the inspirations that you took, bringing it in front of the camera for the film?
None. That sounds so awful. No, I don't like. I don't want to sound pretentious or anything, but I don't like watching similar films of like a horror film or drama and thinking, oh, well, this film's similar to this film and this part is similar to a TV series I've watched. I'll go watch them and see what those actors did in that moment, and then be like, okay, so I need to evoke this sort of emotion at this point. And I like to just go in and experience what the script has said, what the set is going to be, what the setup is, and just act however I feel that the character would act. I don't really like to take, obviously in some cases I like to take inspiration, but I don't really like to take inspiration from other actors to influence my performance. I want to keep it as me as possible. I don't want to copy, but I guess in sense of like inspiration for the kind of actor I want to be is, we have two. You probably heard of one of them, Jodie Comer. She was in
Oh,
Fall
yeah.
Guy, and Saran Jones from England as well. I grew up watching them when I was younger, and they gave me like another inspiration and push to like pursue acting. So I always think of them when I'm doing like a really hard hitting film, to try and keep it as naturalistic as possible. And yeah, they're like my inspiration for becoming an actor. But I guess in terms of like inspirations for how to play the role, I didn't really use any, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I don't think that sounds pretentious at all. Like,
Okay,
that's 100%, like, that's such a valid, like, yeah, you want it to come specifically from you. I do
Yeah.
love that you mentioned Jodie Comer. I think she's maybe over there she's not as underrated. I feel like over here, like in the
Oh no,
US,
over
she's
here she's
so,
like massive. She's like
yeah,
in so many BBC dramas. Yeah, she's
like,
like
she's
incredible.
so
Yeah.
underrated over here.
Yeah.
I
I
remember
want to be
watching her in The Last Duel and
Yeah.
just being like, why are people not talking about this more?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, insane. So
Yeah, I love her.
yeah. So Jamie, you started as an actor. This is your first step in like feature directing. How did you two, like, how did Jamie's experience as an actor inform like your relationship on set? Like, how did that kind of inform how you guys interacted with each other?
Yeah, I mean, it's always a bit of a worry, I guess, when you've been an actor and then you step into directing a film. What other actors that you're working with are gonna kind of think about that, because it's sort of like, I've worked with this guy as an actor.
Right.
Now he's being a director. I kind of don't know him as a director. I know him as an actor. So it's a bit like, are people going to take me seriously knowing that I'm an actor and I've never directed a film before? So for me, there was that kind of a little bit of concern whether people would actually take me seriously or not.
Did you take him seriously, Megan?
I hope so.
Yeah. 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 No,
No.
like when he like sent me the script, I was like, wait, he writes, he directs. I was like, since when? Like I've known him for like what, maybe 3 years, maybe 4 by that point, and I was like, I've only ever acted with him. Like I think this would be like really cool to see what he's like as a director, because I think like actors can also bring like perspective on, you know, what the actor experiences.
Mhm.
And then I think also it gives you more like creativity in the sense of like what you want the film to look like. Because sometimes you do films and you think they're going to turn out really good, and then they edit it and then it comes out awful and you can't use it. So I think in terms of being an actor and then doing the directing, you're making sure your vision is exactly what you wanted. And yeah, it was just really fun working with Jamie because I got to see a different like side to him. And yeah, it was great.
That's
Yeah, I
awesome.
mean, working on like obviously like low budget or micro budget
Yeah.
film, actor, yeah, 100%. There's always that concern whether there's going to be some sort of technical issue with like sound, whatever, and you kind of in the back of your mind you're thinking like, oh, you know, I'm doing this great scene. Is it going to be a waste of time? Sort of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
When you work on
Pretty
micro
much.
budget, so you're thinking about that, you know. Yeah. So yeah, I needed to make sure that technically it was up standard, basically, not to, or it'd just be a waste of time for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you have definitely pulled it off. You
Yeah.
have 2 fans right here. We absolutely enjoyed the movie and can't wait to see both of you work together again and work on future projects. But before we wrap things up, there is a final question we leave every single interview off with. And we'll ask both of you the same question. If people are going to watch The Cellar, what movie would you pair with it to watch either before or right after in a double feature?
That's a tough question.
Yeah.
Tough question.
That's really hard because ours has so many different genres in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's difficult because you don't want someone to watch a similar film as well.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I mean, we have people that just will
Say we
like
get
pair it
comedy
with
answers
something.
quite a
Yeah,
bit.
like comedies. And,
To pair after a horror film. Yeah.
yeah.
Maybe you want to watch a comedy afterwards, just to, you
Yeah,
know.
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's a pretty dark movie. Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
not just dark in the sense of like what happens, but it's dark in the sense of like the hard hitting nature of obviously what the people you know, tell the audience.
Yeah.
And I guess that can be a little bit hard hitting or hard for the audience to hear, because obviously they can relate to what some of the people are talking about. So I guess in that sense, maybe you'd like to watch a comedy afterwards just to settle down a little bit.
Maybe The Room.
The Room, yes,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
No, that is a good one. Yeah, yeah. The
Uh,
Room.
no one has ever double featured their movie with The Room before. I love that.
Yeah. You start down in the cellar and you work your way up to
To The
And
Room.
here's me
upstairs
being
into the room.
like, watch a comedy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, The Room is maybe an unintentional comedy, but
It's
it's pretty
100% a
funny.
comedy.
Yeah.
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 Well,
awesome.
I was not expecting that.
I was not
That's a
expecting
great,
that
That's
either.
a great double feature. Yeah, I like that.
It's a
I
great
like that a
film.
lot.
I mean,
It is a great
Yeah.
film.
It's so fun.
Well, Jamie, Megan, thank you both for joining us and chatting about the film. Where can people stay up to date on where they can watch the film and then follow both of you online?
Well, they can. I mean, for anyone who's in England, they can come to Romford Horror Film Festival this weekend.
On the 28th.
Yeah, on the 28th. Check out there. And then it's going to be in San Antonio Horror Film Festival next month. They can, I mean, the Indiegogo as well is still active, so people can still get an early access screener.
Oh, awesome.
Through the Indiegogo for like $8. And then well, it should be out in a few months' time, somewhere in the streaming.
Awesome.
Awesome. And then where can they find both of you online?
So I am Meghan _Adara on Instagram, Meghan Adara on X, and Meghan Adara on Facebook. I always get really confused as to what my handles are because someone stole my name, so I had to change it. So I get really confused. But basically, I'm just Meghan Adara on like literally every social media platform apart from TikTok because I don't have TikTok. But yeah, you can find me there.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what my handles are, but I think it is JD Langlands on Instagram, and then
It's JD Langlands on Twitter too.
oh, awesome! There you go. Yeah, and then Facebook, Jamie Langlands. I mean, there's a separate Facebook page for the Cellar, and on Instagram as well, and TikTok as well. Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, thank you guys for joining us on the show. We really had a blast with this movie, and we can't wait to see what you guys do next. So
Thank you.
Thank you both. Yeah, thank you. And until next time, everybody, sweet screams.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal, providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.